a todos, sejam muito bem-vindas, sejam muito bem-vindos ao segundo encontro da Sexta ROCA, Roda de Conversas Acadêmicas, retomando diálogos, promovida pelo Laboratório Integrado de Letramentos Acadêmicos Científicos, o LILA, e apoiada pelo Grupo de Pesquisa Linguagem e Educação. A Roda de Conversas Acadêmicas objetiva expandir as discussões sobre letramentos acadêmicos científicos, trazendo ao debate renomados pesquisadores, grandes referências na temática, tanto no cenário nacional quanto internacional. Como o LILA é um laboratório de universidades paranaenses, são esses autores das diferentes instituições de ensino superior do nosso estado que realizam a mediação das ROCAs. Hoje sou eu, Vera Cristóvão, docente da Universidade Estadual de Londrina, e neste segundo encontro estou à frente da mediação, reiterando que é uma satisfação estar com vocês neste novo momento de diálogo da Sexta ROCA. Nossos convidados de hoje, para abordar a temática de desafios e conquistas das associações de estudo da escrita acadêmica são professora doutora Mônica Tapia Ladino, presidente da Associação Latinoamericana de Estudos da Escrita na Educação Superior e em Contextos Profissionais, ALES, professor doutor Youssef El-Oud, presidente da Associación Internacional de Recherche en Literacie, e professor doutor Djuddah Arthur Just-Lehen, presidente da European Association for the Teaching of Academic Writing. Esperamos que ele ainda entre. Em nome dos integrantes do LILA, agradecemos imensamente aos professores convidados pelo aceite e por dividirem conosco seu conhecimento, suas experiências acadêmicas e seu comprometimento com a ciência. So, you're all very welcome. Bem-vindos. Bienvenue. And I'm now going to introduce Professor Mônica Tapia Ladino. Então, em nosso primeiro bloco, teremos a fala da professora doutora Mônica Tapia Ladino sobre a temática do desafio e das conquistas das associações de estudo da escrita acadêmica. Peço perdão por qualquer erro no meu espanhol, Mônica. Mônica Tapia Ladino é doutora em Linguística e acadêmica titular do Departamento de Ciências del Lenguaje e Literatura de la Facultad de Educación de la Universidad Católica de la Santísima Concepción. Ha participado en proyectos de investigación Fondesit y Fonide sobre escritura académica en educación superior y en el sistema escolar chileno. Ha publicado artículos científicos en revistas de corriente principal sobre procesos de producción oral y escrita, procesos de escritura en ámbitos académicos, especialmente se ha preocupado de la relación de diferentes tipos de retroalimentación en los procesos de aprendizaje y de la escritura. En 2013, realizó una estadía postdoctoral en la Universidad de California, Santa Bárbara. Fue vicerrectora académica de la Universidad Católica de la Santísima Concepción entre 2016 y 2017. 18, perdóname. Y vicerrectora de investigación y posgrado entre 2018 y 2021. En la misma casa de estudios. Actualmente es presidenta de la Asociación Latinoamericana de Estudios de la Escritura en Educación Superior y Contextos Profesionales. And she's a runner, a marathon runner. Ela corre maratonas. E diz que não corre rapidamente, mas quer sempre cruzar a linha de chegada. E é lindo de te acompanhar nas maratonas mundo afora, Mônica. Seja muito bem-vinda e muito obrigada por ter aceito o nosso convite.
Gracias, Vera. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to present in Spanish, Voy a comentar y a conversar a quienes estén conectados. Primero quiero agradecer la invitación a esta ronda de ROCA, de conversaciones, y al equipo que tú has formado de Lila y todas las investigadoras de Brasil. Así que muchísimos cariños a ustedes. Y nada, voy a hacer una presentación de creo que 10 minutos, ¿está bien? ¿Sí? Ok. A ver, dame un segundo para conectar la pantalla, compartir pantalla. Aquí está. Ay, no. Un segundito. Perdón. Acá. Ya, lo tengo. Ya, perfecto. Está todo ok. Entonces, les voy a comentar sobre la Asociación Latinoamericana de Estudios de Escritura en Educación Superior y Contextos Profesionales, ALES. El objetivo de esta Asociación Latinoamericana es una asociación sin fines de lucros, es académica, intenta y trabaja por ser una organización democrática que estimule las investigaciones teóricamente informadas y metodológicamente sustentadas en investigación sobre escritura y enseñanza de la escritura en educación superior y en contextos profesionales a través de la creación de un espacio específico, disciplinar y colaborativo a partir de los medios también de masa, la investigación y los profesores desde varias disciplinas. Quedó en
Mônica,
azul el link.
Mônica,
¿Sí?
Perdóname, ¿puedes tentar poner en la tela cheia?
¿En el escritorio?
No. Como, full screen. Full screen, if you go down.
Sí. A
ver.
Un segundo. No sé por qué no lo puede hacer.
I think at the bottom
sí,
line.
En mi,
Yes.
¿Ahí? ¿Se ve ahí? Pero, en mi computador está así, pero no sé por qué no lo puedo hacer en el...
Bruna, no.
No en la presentación.
Yo no.
Profesora Mônica, tiene que compartir su pantalla.
Sí.
Después de poner en el lector completo.
A ver, un segundo, perdón. Es un poco diferente. Ahí sí. Voy. Ventana. Quizás poner toda la pantalla. No lo veo. Ahí ahora lo voy a compartir. Ahí. Y aquí. Ahí lo tengo en pantalla completa. ¿Lo ves en pantalla completa?
No sé por qué no estamos hablando.
Sé.
Pero creo que es posible mantener así, sin ser la pantalla completa. Ir de una pantalla
no sé
para
por qué no funciona. No sé por qué no. ¿Y ahí si lo muevo, funciona?
Sí. Es posible de ver. Es lo suficiente, creo yo. Si se clicar en inicio.
Tienes razón, voy a buscar inicio.
Clica en inicio nuevamente. Creo que va a minimizar, ¿no? No, pero está bien, así. Puede proseguir.
Bueno. Entonces es una asociación sin fines de lucro que intenta informar investigación en el área de escritura con metodología y con respaldos teóricos desarrollados o sustentados Los fundadores son de Latinoamérica, ahí están Alma Carrasco de México, Violeta Molina de Colombia. El grupo más grande está desde Chile porque surge, ya se los voy a contar, desde Santiago de Chile, los colegas René Venegas, Natalia Ávila, Soledad Montes y quien habla, desde Brasil María Esther Morís y desde Argentina Federico Navarro y Estela Moyano. Entonces la asociación comienza en el año 2016, en octubre del 2016, en ocasión de del Congreso, del primer Congreso Simposio Internacional de Enseñanza de la Escritura en Educación Superior, que fue organizado en la Universidad de Chile. No sé por qué quedó ese, ahí sí. Actualmente el directorio de ALES lo conformamos quien habla, Mônica Tapia Ladino, Vera Lucía Cristóbal de la Universidad Londrina de Brasil y Valentina Faller, quien estaba estudiando en Estados Unidos y hoy día está en Argentina, y Federico Navarro, quien fue el presidente del primer periodo, los presidentes que van quedando por estatuto en un periodo adicional cada vez. ¿Qué más les puedo contar? Bueno, ¿cuáles son las actividades que realiza ALES? Bueno, lo más relevante o la actividad motor de ALES es las conferencias cada 2 años. La primera fue en Chile, en la Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, en el año 2018. Vino muchísima gente, fue un congreso muy... con mucha participación de distintos lugares del mundo. No tengo la estadística, pero alrededor de 400 personas participaron en este congreso. Luego venía el congreso del año 2020, pero como todos saben, por pandemia fue trasladado al 2021 y lo realizó la Universidad de Paraíba en Brasil. Este fue un congreso online. Sin embargo, a pesar de las dificultades que todos vivimos, fue un congreso con alta participación, también con mucha conexión de distintos lugares del mundo. El año 2023 se hizo en mi universidad, en Chile. Volvimos a Chile porque post pandemia muchas universidades tuvieron muchos problemas para reiniciar y para entrar en adoptar una actividad tan grande como esta. Y actualmente tenemos la buena noticia de que nuestro Congreso 2025 se hará en la Universidad del Norte, en Barranquilla, Colombia, los primeros días de noviembre. Esperamos que muy pronto salga la primera convocatoria o circular para este simposio. Como en general les comenté, la misión ya más específica de ALES es colaborar con la inclusión y la calidad de la educación superior, con un desarrollo científico y tecnológico para Latinoamérica, para apoyar las iniciativas, conectar con profesionales en el ámbito de la escritura y promover especialmente los espacios disciplinares de investigación y de estudio. Los conceptos básicos están allí. La escritura es esencial para la educación, para la participación. Es una tecnología compleja que integra múltiples dimensiones, promueve el pensamiento crítico y la transformación del conocimiento, requiere instrucción informada en tanto los aspectos lingüísticos como pedagógicos, y es una actividad situada. En esto es lo que creemos como asociación y comprendemos que los estudios de la escritura no son de jurisdicción de un solo ámbito disciplinar, sino que es multidisciplinar y en distintos espacios de Latinoamérica hay distintas disciplinas, departamentos y grupos de académicos que se dedican a estudiar este fenómeno. También, aunque el motor o el núcleo central son los aspectos relacionados con escritura, también aceptamos y promovemos los trabajos, las presentaciones sobre oralidad en ámbitos formales académicos, dado que también se trata de manifestaciones que se elaboran a partir de la escritura. ¿Cómo funcionamos? Nosotros actualmente, esta es una estadística hasta el año 2023, que la presentamos en la Asamblea de Socios a propósito del congreso que se hizo en la Católica de Concepción. A esa fecha contábamos con 1.280 asociados. ¿Cómo se puede asociar las personas a ALES? Básicamente participando de los congresos. Cuando las personas participan a los congresos, los integramos de manera por defecto y vamos guardando sus correos electrónicos y contamos con una base de datos que crece cada día. Cuando estudiamos la distribución, la mayoría son asociados de Argentina, seguidos de Chile, Brasil, México y Colombia, y una serie de otros países que ahí está un poco más detallado: Perú, España, Uruguay, Canadá, Suecia y algunas representaciones de algún participante en distintos lugares del mundo. La idea es que esta asociación siga creciendo. Nosotras como directiva nos planteamos algunos objetivos. Una modalidad de participación es como personas individuales y la segunda es proponiendo las universidades como entidades asociadas. Actualmente tenemos 29 universidades asociadas a ALES de distintos lugares del mundo, de Brasil, de Chile, de Argentina, de México, estoy revisando aquí, sí, básicamente México, Chile, Colombia, Brasil. ¿Qué más les puedo contar? Otra de nuestras guías importantísimas son las publicaciones. A propósito de cada congreso, hemos trabajado por seleccionar y convocar a las publicaciones, las contribuciones que se hacen en el Congreso ALES, y esto se expresa en dos materiales. Ambos reciben apoyo de Clearinghouse en la página de WOC, que está allí su dirección. La primera contribución de Multilingual Contribution of Writing Research recoge los trabajos presentados en el Congreso ALES 2018. Este material está con acceso abierto, se puede descargar de la página web y está a disposición de todos en la web de Clearinghouse. El ALES tiene un espacio para sus publicaciones en español y para representar a Latinoamérica. El otro material, el otro origen de publicaciones del que estamos trabajando muchísimo hoy día es la revista latinoamericana de estudios de la escritura, que se publica también desde WOC Clearinghouse y está apoyado por nuestra asociación. Llevamos ya el segundo número, tres números. Está abierto, es una revista que está trabajando para lograr indexación, pero como ustedes saben, eso es un proceso que toma tiempo, pero ya hay 3 números. Hoy día estamos trabajando en el número adicional para el 2025 con las presentaciones en ALES 2023. ¿Quiénes estamos a cargo de la revista? La editora general es Natalia Ávila, la editora ejecutiva Lina Cayerango y el editor asistente es Rafael Socarón desde Brasil. Las editoras asociadas son quienes estamos allí, que representamos a Brasil, Estados Unidos, y Chile y Colombia. Así es que tenemos mucho trabajo, es una actividad bastante intensiva, que nos toma mucho tiempo y, bueno, que también es muy estimulante. También invitamos a los académicos a postular a esta revista. Necesitamos llegar a un número de publicaciones permanentes para comenzar el proceso de indexación. También qué cosas hacemos o qué actividades hacemos. Participamos en mesas temáticas, pues tuvimos una representación en Writing Across Border el año 2022 y actualmente estamos haciendo las gestiones para participar con mesas en los congresos de AWOC y que se van a realizar el próximo año, la European Association también, cuyo colega nos va también contar cómo va eso. La idea es que como asociaciones demos espacio para que en ALES se presenten otras asociaciones, pero también motivamos a nuestros socios a preparar mesas que comuniquen lo que la investigación en Latinoamérica están haciendo nuestros asociados. Y vuelvo a la revista, les comentaba hace un rato que entonces estábamos preparando, esta es la presentación, el número de Brasil, del número 2023, si lo quieren revisar, que recoge los trabajos del Congreso CIGET, si no recuerdo mal, cuya editora es aquí nuestra querida Vera, Lucía y Regina Méndez. Fue el trabajo que se hizo en el 2023, si no recuerdo mal, ahí me recuerdas, Vera. Bueno, y finalmente, ¿en qué estamos hoy día? Alex lo que está estimulando, y es un poco la razón por la que estoy en esta presentación, afirmando relaciones con distintos países de Latinoamérica. Estamos muy contentos porque desde que asumimos con Vera Lucía el año 2022-21, hemos aumentado el número de socios de Brasil, que era una aspiración, porque Brasil hace muchísima investigación de muy buena calidad y necesitamos tener más conversaciones con ellos. Eso es algo que hemos ido logrando progresivamente, y también establecer relaciones con otras asociaciones alrededor del mundo, y una actividad como esta era parte de nuestras aspiraciones como directiva conformada por, como ya les dije, Vera, Valentina, Federico y quien habla. Así que estoy muy contenta de hacer esta presentación. Voy a dejar de compartir pantalla. Lamento que no se haya visto tan completo como habríamos esperado.
Muchas gracias, Mônica. Yo estoy muy contenta de hacer parte de ALES con usted. Muchas gracias. Ahora voy a presentar el próximo invitado. Eu vou cambiar a francês. But first I have to apologize for any mistakes I make, okay?
No problem, no problem. No problem.
Bonjour, bienvenue. Prof. Dr. Youssef El-Oud a son doctorat en sciences de l'éducation, laboratoire Cyril Théodile, Université de Lille, et son thèse est intitulée « Des pratiques scripturales disciplinaires en français dans l'enseignement supérieur, cas de la formation médicale au Maroc ». Il est professeur de l'enseignement supérieur assistant à l'École normale supérieure de Tétouan, Université Abdelmalek Essaïd.
Essad,
pardon.
Il
Il est attaché temporaire de l'enseignement et de la recherche à l'UFR de Cid. Oui?
UFR de Cid.
Oui. Et aussi encadrement pédagogique à Universidade Estadual Paulista, campus de São José do Rio Preto, na disciplina Tópicos Especiais em Análise Linguística, tuteur dans le cadre du dispositif Tandem, aide à la mobilité au CRL, Université de Lille, et il est président de l'Association internationale de recherche en littératie, membre et associé au laboratoire Cyril Théodile, Université de Lille, membre du réseau international de recherche sur les littératies, Université libre de Bruxelles, et membre de la chaire Transition éducative, Université de Lille, et de la direction d'appui à la pédagogie et la innovation. Le principal champ de recherche littératie universitaire et professionnelle, didactique du français et didactique des disciplines, transition, secondaire, université et milieu professionnel, rapport entre les concepts de transition et la formation au supérieur, et on va dire quelques mots sur son hobby. He loves
Le
nature,
voyage. Yes.
animals, traveling and
Ah, bien.
fishing. Bienvenue, Youssef. Merci beaucoup pour être avec nous.
Merci à toi, Vera. Je te remercie pour l'invitation. C'était un plaisir pour moi de partager ce moment scientifique et convivial avec vous. Je tiens à remercier également toutes les personnes qui ont travaillé dans l'ombre pour réussir cette rencontre, bien sûr. Je remercie Mônica pour sa belle présentation. J'ai appris beaucoup de choses sur son association. Sans plus tarder, je vais commencer à présenter ma...
Oui, d'accord.
Partage de l'écran. Partager. Je ne sais pas si c'est visible ou pas. Donc, c'est visible, Vera? Est-ce que c'est visible?
Youssef?
C'est visible.
Non.
Donc,
mais quand tu...
Là,
oui, non.
Là, c'est bon?
Mais d'accord, on va voir.
Bon?
Oui, c'est bon, comme
Parfait.
ça. Oui,
Parfait.
parfait.
Merci. Donc, pour le plan de mon intervention, je commencerai tout d'abord par présenter l'association en quelques mots. Après, je discuterai des projets futurs de l'association, puisque c'est une association qui est jeune, qui vient de naître. Après, j'aborderai les défis liés à l'écriture au niveau supérieur, à l'écriture académique. Et après, je discuterai je proposerai quelques pistes de réflexion, voire quelques perspectives pour la recherche et la discussion. Donc, l'ARL a vocation à rassembler une pluralité d'acteurs, chercheurs académiques, enseignants, formateurs, professionnels de l'accompagnement et de l'ingénierie pédagogique pour développer des réponses aux enjeux liés à l'écriture, à la lecture dans tous les domaines et dans tous les contextes. Elle aborde des questions d'enseignement, d'apprentissage, d'accompagnement, de transition éducative de façon pluridisciplinaire en associant des compétences de chercheurs en sciences de l'éducation, du langage, etc. L'ambition de l'ARL est d'articuler les apports de recherche avec l'expérience et les pratiques des acteurs de terrain, enseignants, apprenants, étudiants et autres acteurs du milieu éducatif dans le cadre d'enseignement formel ou informel. En ce qui concerne les objectifs de l'association, il s'agit d'associer les acteurs et les actrices de la recherche pour l'éducation, l'enseignement et la formation formelle et non formelle, technique, professionnelle et ou professionnelle. De contribuer à la construction d'un corps de pratique d'accompagnement, d'orientation, d'enseignement, d'apprentissage et de formation, de créer une jonction entre recherche, formation et professionnalisation et inclusion, de contribuer à l'innovation des formations en prenant le contexte professionnel comme ressource pour penser les pratiques d'écriture et de lecture à l'université et de réfléchir aux modes, aux procédés, aux formes, aux ressources et aux dispositifs utilisés ou à utiliser dans les pratiques pédagogiques de l'enseignement préscolaire, scolaire, supérieur et professionnel afin de construire et partager les savoirs utiles pour l'inclusion académique, professionnelle et bien sûr sociale. en ce qui concerne les contextes visés par l'association. L'association se donne pour mission d'approcher tous les contextes, à savoir l'enseignement fondamental ordinaire, l'enseignement secondaire ordinaire, l'enseignement supérieur, l'enseignement technique, l'enseignement de promotion sociale et l'enseignement non formel, accompagnement des personnes en situation d'analphabétisme, l'enseignement à domicile et assimilé, l'enseignement professionnel spécialisé et la formation continue. En ce qui concerne les axes de recherche, le programme scientifique de l'association est structuré en 5 blocs ou voire 5 thématiques prioritaires, à savoir la formation, la pratique, l'innovation pédagogique, l'enseignement, la formation avec et par le numérique, surtout avec l'avènement et avec les changements que connaît le monde et les mutations à travers l'intelligence artificielle, etc. Donc, sans oublier l'inclusion, bien sûr, et l'apprentissage des personnes en situation d'handicap. En ce qui concerne les collaborations, l'association vise un cadre de collaboration purement scientifique, bien sûr, entre des pays de l'Afrique, de l'Amérique du Nord, de l'Amérique latine, de l'Europe et de l'Asie. D'ailleurs, c'est pour cela qu'on est aujourd'hui dans le cadre de cette rencontre. L'association collabora avec les établissements, bien sûr, de formation technique, les écoles supérieures et les universités pour aider les jeunes, je dirais bien les jeunes, qu'ils soient des élèves, des étudiants, des stagiaires, etc., à se rapprocher du contexte professionnel, vu que d'après les recherches qui ont été faites, il y a un écart entre ce qui se passe au milieu professionnel et ce qui se passe dans le cadre de la formation au supérieur. L'association participera à la coopération internationale dont le but principal est d'étudier et de créer de nouveaux contextes et objets de travail scientifiques sur les questions liées à l'enseignement, à l'apprentissage, à la formation, à l'accompagnement, aux formes de littératie et à l'inclusion afin de favoriser l'inclusion scientifique et sociétale. Maintenant, passons aux réalisations et projets scientifiques de l'association. Comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, l'association elle est encore jeune. Donc, nous avons 3 projets qui sont en cours, bien sûr, en cours d'élaboration. Le premier projet de l'association, en fait, son objectif est de contribuer à la réalisation des objectifs de développement scientifique, durable bien sûr, et à la transformation structurelle des formations et de la recherche scientifique, notamment à travers l'organisation des manifestations scientifiques, à savoir un congrès qui est en cours, c'est le Congrès international des cultures, des littératies culturelles. L'enjeu de ce congrès est d'interroger la notion de culture d'un point de vue littératique et pluridisciplinaire dans l'enseignement scolaire supérieur, professionnalisant et professionnel. Le but est de contribuer au développement des compétences littératies, scolaires, communicatives, interculturelles et professionnelles ciblées à destination de l'étudiant, de l'élève, mais également d'intégrer le développement des compétences dans le cadre d'actions. Ce congrès se veut une rencontre visant à réunir des acteurs de l'enseignement et de la formation afin qu'ils puissent partager leurs expériences et travailler en synergie autour de thématiques communes, bien sûr, qui sont universelles. Un autre objectif, c'est d'apporter plus de visibilité aux réalités nationales et internationales de la formation universitaire et professionnelle et les croiser avec les réalités internationales. Le deuxième projet scientifique qu'on est en train d'organiser, il s'agit en fait de la bande dessinée, regard transdisciplinaire et interdisciplinaire. L'objectif de ce colloque est d'identifier comment les élèves connectent, pour apprendre à lire et à écrire, bien sûr, comment les élèves arrive à connecter le contenu avec les images, et on veut savoir, puisque c'est pluridisciplinaire et interdisciplinaire, on aimerait bien savoir comment les autres disciplines se saisissent de la bande dessinée pour apprendre la lecture et l'écriture aux élèves. Donc, on se pose pas mal de questions. La première est, la bande dessinée peut-elle apprendre à écrire? Comment utiliser les ressources de la bande dessinée dans l'apprentissage de la lecture et de l'écriture? Et quel est le rôle de la bande dessinée pour la transmission des connaissances et la mise en œuvre de situations d'apprentissage de la lecture et de l'écriture? Pour le troisième projet, il s'agit d'un projet CBHE, c'est comment on appelle les capacités building in high school. Ce projet interroge les modes d'appropriation, d'acculturation et de formation, étant donné que les pratiques d'enseignement et d'apprentissage dans les filières ou dans les disciplines à orientation professionnelle ne sont pas, et les genres d'écrits utilisés ne sont pas pensés de manière à partir d'une pratique scripturale de référence, mais pensés de manière horizontale de l'université pour l'université dans une logique d'évaluation. Il est question de décrire et d'analyser le degré des tensions existantes qui traversent les politiques de formation entre travail et formation. Il s'agit alors de questionner l'efficacité des dispositifs de formation lorsque ceux-ci sont conçus comme des instruments au service des politiques de l'emploi, de l'adéquation entre les besoins de compétences des entreprises médicales et celles acquises par les futurs professionnels. Pour ce qui est des défis, que ce soit des défis qui concernent l'association ou des défis qui concernent la communauté scientifique de manière générale, en fait, il s'agit de la question du contexte, puisque la question du contexte pose un vrai problème, surtout dans les disciplines à vocation professionnalisante et professionnelle, dans la mesure où, dans la formation universitaire, l'acte de d'écrire, par exemple, est purement individuel et évaluatif, alors que dans le contexte professionnel, l'acte d'écrire, il est collaboratif pour communiquer une information précise par rapport à une pathologie ou par rapport à une demande. Donc, le défi de l'écriture serait, je pense, d'articuler ces dimensions afin de proposer des activités d'écriture pour apprendre à écrire dans des genres professionnels au niveau de l'université. D'ailleurs, comme le souligne Russell et Lillis Herré. Le deuxième défi concerne la formation. En fait, la formation à l'écrit doit se faire à travers des genres spécifiques à la discipline, enseignés, comme le souligne Russell en 2002, comme l'a souligné en 2002, en 2012, et Fanny Rank aussi, et Frédéric Stéry en 2012. Le fait de travailler les compétences rédactionnelles à travers des genres disciplinaires permet d'envisager l'écrit en lien avec les constructions des savoirs. En se familiarisant avec les genres en usage dans sa discipline, l'étudiant s'en approprie les savoirs et se familiarise avec des manières de faire et de penser. La maîtrise de l'écrit dans le supérieur, la question qui se pose maintenant, la maîtrise de l'écrit dans le supérieur peut-elle cependant être abordée uniquement et intégralement sous l'angle de la maîtrise des genres disciplinaires? Donc ça, c'est la question que Russell et Fanny Rank sont posées pour la question de la formation à l'écriture au niveau du supérieur. Vient au troisième point, ou au troisième plan, le rôle de l'université dans cette acculturation à l'écriture académique. On se pose la question sur le rôle de l'université dans la formation aux compétences rédactionnelles du monde professionnel, surtout que les écrits, considérés comme un outil de formation, en quoi les pratiques d'écriture académique permettent-elles de former aux pratiques d'écriture professionnelle? Donc, c'est la question principale qu'on se pose dans le cadre du rôle de l'université. En quoi l'université peut-elle et comment l'université peut-elle intégrer l'écrit professionnel dans les pratiques de formation? Ça, ce sont des questions que l'association se fixe pour pouvoir identifier quelques éléments de réponse afin de mener des recherches pour apporter des éléments de réponse à ces questions. Maintenant, passons aux perspectives liées au défi de l'écriture académique. J'ai oublié de traduire le titre. Je pense qu'il y a 4 champs d'action pour faire évoluer les pratiques d'enseignement, les pratiques d'écriture au supérieur dans les disciplines à vocation professionnalisante et professionnelle. Parmi lesquelles exploiter le genre professionnel pour penser les pratiques et les activités d'apprentissage de l'écriture à l'université, renforcer les prises de conscience autour des enjeux de l'écriture professionnelle à l'université dans le cadre de modules ou de dispositifs dédiés à l'écriture professionnelle, former les étudiants à partir d'expériences d'apprentissage authentiques, c'est-à-dire partir des pratiques scripturales de référence pour penser la formation au niveau de l'université, évaluer les développements des compétences en portant une attention particulière aux facilités et aux difficultés en favorisant les expériences d'apprentissage vécues par les étudiants afin d'en faire un atout pour leur apprentissage académique et professionnel. Pour conclure, je conclus avec 5 questions qui restent en suspens bien sûr. Pourquoi cette vaine insistance sur l'écriture et sur les genres d'écrits qu'on utilise au niveau de l'université qui ne vont pas être utiles aux étudiants au niveau dans le cadre du contexte professionnel? De quoi on a besoin pour assurer une continuité entre les différents contextes, qu'ils soient université, contexte des stages et le contexte professionnel où ils vont exercer leur métier de médecin, de médecin. Qu'est-ce qu'il est possible de faire et comment le faire? Qu'est-ce qui serait utile de faire et comment passons de la discontinuité à la continuité? Donc, sur ces questions, je termine mon intervention. J'espère que j'ai respecté le temps. Voici une bibliographie sur laquelle je me suis basé pour pouvoir faire cette intervention et je vous remercie.
Pour traduire, oui, parce que le français, ce n'est pas une langue très commune au Brésil, donc merci beaucoup.
Merci à toi. J'espère qu'avec la traduction sur les slides, donc ça...
Oui. Donc, et je suis très contente que nous sommes ici parce que vous avez parlé de la collaboration. Donc, je pense que nous sommes contentes d'être ensemble. Oui. Agora eu convido o professor Djuddah Arthur Just Leihan. I'm sorry if I have mispronounced your name. Have I?
No, it was very good.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce Professor Dr. Djuddah Leihan, president of the sorry, just a minute.
EATAW.
Oui, Associación Européenne pour l'enseignement de la rédaction académique. Oui. Donc, I'm sorry, I'm speaking English now. Dr. Leihan is an associate professor of English at the Institute of Foreign Languages and Cultures and head of the Center for Academic Writing at the University of Tartu.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
His research focuses on writing processes in general and more specifically on the role external factors, including technology, play in shaping text. He has published on topics ranging from the effect of peer review on writing, the use of machine learning to predict futures affecting changes in text, and more recently on the identification of academic text futures in multiple languages, Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian, to determine what futures define a genre, discipline, or language. Djuddah is the current chair of the European Association for the Teaching of Academic Writing, EATAW, and has participated in numerous international conferences, writing research seminars, and workshops. He enthusiastically applies his research in his teaching of writing to PhD students at the University of Tartu and in collaborative work across the Nordic and Baltic regions through various networks and organizations. He's enthusiastic about living in Estonia, which is the country where he has lived the longest continuously. He enjoys the cold, dark winters and the beautiful short summers, a passion he shares with his wife and 2 daughters through nature hikes, mushroom collecting, and berry picking. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And we have long summers.
I know.
So it's the opposite. Thank you so much.
I know. Mm-hmm.
And the floor is yours. You can, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, you can share your presentation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is it possible to share my screen?
Yeah, you can do that. Let's see if it works.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will just, so it's working on getting access to my screen.
Okay.
And okay, it looks like I need to just modify a few settings. But yeah, I'd like to thank you for extending the invitation and allowing me to speak on behalf of EATAW. And I now need to find my window that I can share, which I found. And so it's yeah, I'm just walking through my. Can you see my my?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. No.
Yeah. So just to add, so I was due to the time differences, I think we we had a little bit of a challenge to get started.
I'm sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's quite normal. I think when we are working with various time differences, it's always a challenge.
It is.
Okay. It doesn't seem to find my screen.
What do you
so
think?
I will try, but I can do it.
Can help?
I can do it.
Oh, maybe you can send it to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is I don't have slides. I have.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have PowerPoint slides, but
okay.
it's okay. So I can run through it without the slides or without the information, because basically what I have is I have a document and I will describe it with the information of the organization. But I think that if I explain it, it might work, and then I can send it to you later on for everybody to have a look. And in the meantime, I will see whether it can work. Well, again, so thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
So I'm the head of EATAW, which is the European Association of the Teaching of Academic Writing, and if you go to our website, which is eataw.eu, EATAW.eu, you can find more information about our organization. So what I would like to do is I'll just give you a little bit of a background about our organization, where we actually came from, and where we are today, and where we hope to be tomorrow, plus present some of the major challenges that we have with the organization, and generally express the kind of relevance that we have and the impact that we hope to have on writing in the writing community. So I hope that for everybody who's listening, it's okay if I go through it without any additional text, and I hope that you will be able to follow me. So we were founded in 2001. And that's something that we would refer to as our inception and early conferences between 2001 and 2005. So we have a biannual conference that runs every 2 years. And the first conference that we organized was in the Netherlands, the University of Groningen, where we had as the major keynote speakers Olga Dieste, Leonard Björk, and John Bean. And I think the main reason why EATAW started with the conference is because we felt that we needed to have an alternative perspective, an alternative voice to most of the voices that come out from the North American context. And I think that all of us are pretty aware of what happens in the United States and the kind of impact that they've had on the teaching and learning of writing, and how this has translated to the way that we organize our own teaching and learning within our own context. And the European context, of course, the way that we look at it is a very complex context with many different languages, many different cultures, many different types of universities with various approaches of teaching and learning. And so we felt that we needed an association that would open up those discussions, and primarily also maybe push back a little bit to what was happening in the United States, in the North American context, in order to try and bring our own voices in there, to give our own disciplinary context, so that we would be able to support both our teaching staffs, but also our institutions from a more European perspective, which as we know, the North American tradition didn't always translate. And so the second conference was in 2003, which was at the Central European University in Budapest, with keynote speakers Anne Johns, Otto Cruz, and Claire Fournon. And the focus was very much on academic writing pedagogy, because again, academic writing pedagogy in the European context, we would like to think, has built a different background to the Anglo-American one. And then the third conference was in 2005, and this was in Athens. And we had keynote speakers Lotte Reneker, Konstanti Stefanidis, and Katrin Gerkensall. And in the third conference, we emphasized cultural and linguistic diversity in academic writing. And so it seems that from the inception period, we started to become a little bit more clear as to where we were going and the kind of complexities and issues the academic writing community had, both in teaching and learning. So we followed up in 2007 in Germany. We had Ken Highland as a speaker, Christy Lonka, where we started to discuss more interdisciplinary approaches to writing, and followed by the 2009 conference in Coventry, United Kingdom, where we had Sally Mitchell, Christian Xian, Gabriela Ruman present keynotes. And we had our first, I think, major breakthrough publication, which came out from that conference, which was published by Sally Mitchell, which was Now You Don't See It, Now You Do. So writing made visible in the university. This was also the first conference that I attended as a PhD student in 2009. And I think both the publication of Sally Mitchell, as well as the keynote speech by Christian Sun, really Christian Shun from the University of Pittsburgh really influenced me and really set me on a track to support and expand the community as well. So it was incredibly inspiring, with a wonderful community, that now has already been much more established. And this publication, Writing Made Visible in the University, was something that I think most of us were really struggling with. So supporting writing was very much in language centers in European context, and I think that trying to make it visible across the university was a challenge that pretty much everyone was facing, except those institutions which managed to set up language writing center. So that was something that I think many people were maybe envious of. Universities of Coventry, also in Denmark, in Germany, there were some universities which had very strong writing centers, which many other universities were just unable to duplicate. And then in 2011, we had a conference in Limerick, Ireland. We had Peter Elbow as a keynote speaker and Katrin Gergensaw. And the focus of, I think, some of the topics were very much on topics related to feedback. And Olga Diste wrote a very influential paper at that time as well, which is that what is the purpose of feedback when revision is not expected. So we could see that besides the writing discipline, the writing centers, specific pedagogical choices related to how we give feedback and how we support writing start to really become a very, very prominent point of discussion within our community. Then following this, I would say that the following three conferences were much more committed to multilingualism and research itself. So where most of the previous conferences were quite practical and really trying to establish a strong community for teachers of writing, I think it became quite clear that from 2013 onwards, we needed to also focus much more on research evidence and research within the conferences itself. So where many of the presentations that we had earlier were also good practice about teaching writing. From the 2013 conference, we were really inviting more research-based presentations as well. So the 2013 conference was in Budapest, and we had Paul K. Matsuda as a keynote speaker, Christiana Donahue, and Bojana Petric. So that point of multilingualism and research was fairly well established there. Following by the 2015 conference in Tallinn, Estonia, with keynote speakers of Ulla Connor, Caroline Coffin, and Jim Donahue, and Terry Myers-Zawacki. The other thing which was really strongly present in the 2015 conference was the publication of the European Writing Survey. And the European Writing Survey was a writing survey which was started by a group of Otto Kruse, where it became clear that there was a lack of research evidence across the European Union in terms of where we are with writing and who we are with writing. So what kind of writing traditions do we have? Do we, for example, in Eastern Europe, write differently than those in Scandinavia or Western Europe? So those were quite general questions that were being asked, and the European Writing Survey was distributed in order to really try and find out how we talk about writing. So how different universities would, for example, talk about an essay or a research paper within their own languages. So that was, I think, for us as a community and for the writing research in general in Europe, a very seminal research project and seminal book that helped us to diversify in some ways, to feel that, okay, well, we don't have a European voice when it comes to academic writing, but what we do have is a diverse European voice. So there isn't one single approach, but it was quite interesting to see how different countries would approach writing, and struggled with the teaching of writing and the research of writing, which is still a struggle nowadays. But that, at least in 2015, started that ball rolling, and I think it's a lot of people are still somewhat living off that research which came out from the European Writing Survey. And then in 2017 we had a conference in Royal Holloway in London, where we had keynotes of Rowena Murray, Katrin Koegenso, and Ron Barnett. And this was, I suppose, the first conference where digital tools in writing became somewhat of a topic. I don't want to say that it became a prominent topic, but of course it became a topic which really started to form itself as a theme in writing research. And I suppose that then led us into the next group of conferences, which is the 2019 and the 2021 conference. Of course, the 2019 conference just before the COVID pandemic, and it was at the Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden, where we had Chris Anson, Karen Heath, and Montserrat Castello, and Emma Davus Milne as keynote speakers. And the discussion here was really digitalization and multilingual classrooms. So this conference, set the actually quite a lot of momentum moving forward in the current discussions that we have. Of course, unfortunately, in the 2021 conference, we had to move online. It was supposed to be in the Czech Republic, in Ostrava, where we wanted to present again a much more balanced discussion about negotiating the intersections of writing and writing instructions, specifically within, let's say, a Central Eastern European context, and where we had Dylan Dreyer, John Harbert, Medellin Chites, and Otto Kruse as keynote speakers. It was, of course, a really interesting time to see how we could, move a conference very quickly online. We had, very enthusiastic responses from people really joining, but at the same time, it was such a challenge, I think, for all of us. And we're trying to forget this as much as possible nowadays. But that did lead to the 2023 conference, which of course was the first conference again, coming back face to face. And this was at the Zurich University of Applied Sciences in Switzerland winter tour. With the, of course, main topic being writing technology, thinking and learning. And this was also, right at the time where, we could see, of course, artificial intelligence really already making a stamp in, what it is that we are doing. So we had Mark Silibak, Calliope Benotos, and David and Heidi McKee give keynote presentations about writing technology. And that leads us to our upcoming year 2025 conference, which will be in Braga in Portugal from July 2 to July 4. And the theme of the conference is multilingual academic literacies, challenges and opportunities in the age of artificial intelligence. So it seems that for the 2025 conference, we are merging actually all of the major challenges that we are currently facing within the European context, but I think, as a global context as well. How do we deal with the multilingual academic literacies in Europe? And of course, also globally, how do we extend that? In addition to that additional challenge of artificial intelligence and the way that it's going to shape our discussions. So we're incredibly happy that we have our keynote speakers actually from a very, very diverse region. So we have Suresh Kanagaraj joining us to talk about multilingual academic literacies. We have Federico Navarro, who is a well-known speaker in your context and a researcher. So incredibly grateful that both of them can join us. And then we have Julian Juliana Molinari from the Open University in the UK join us to really talk about us, about what academic writing is within our context. So we really hope, or maybe hope is not the right, so we really aim, I think, with this conference to expand both the extensive research that exists, but also the extensive research that we require or need within our community to develop a broader language discussion, as well as to expand the discussion across a larger geographic audience. So this is also, I think, maybe the first time that we are really accepting and also very strongly inviting speakers from other regions that are from, I'm sorry, so speakers from Spanish speakers and also Portuguese speakers. Primarily because we hope that the context within Portugal is able to help us to, open up larger discussions with those communities as well, and to invite them within our community, because I think this diversification is something that we are really longing for, and our community is also longing for, to be able to understand, not just again from our European perspective, but now from a larger global perspective, how we can deal with issues related to multilingualism. So we're incredibly happy, and of course we invite everyone here as well to have a look at our call at the website, and I will share that information. So it's the EATAW 2025 conference, where we accept submissions in Spanish and Portuguese and English. So we're really, really looking forward to let's say the future directions that we are moving in. So that, I suppose, moves us into the topic of EATAW in today's context. So what we have, I suppose, as an organization, because I think in the past, what is it now, 23 years, so we're almost going on to 25 years, I think we've managed to establish a fairly strong base. However, and I will talk about the howevers a little bit later, I think despite the fact that we have a strong base, there's always challenges and a point of, let's say, fragility that can disrupt the way that we are moving forward, which keeps us, I think, as an organization and as a board really on our toes to try and see how we can keep our members involved in the things that we do. So one of the things that we really try to do, and I think, and I would love to hear your perspectives on this as well, is that we see, of course, that trying to reach out to members, to new members, to an audience is challenging in terms of what kind of medium to choose. So we have a website, we have an EATAW website, which we, I think now 4 years ago, updated. We have a clear logo that we try to share in all of the opportunities, in all of the occasions that we can, for name recognition. Again, we want to brand ourselves as an organization that really stands for academic writing, and that branding itself needs to come across, through the website that we have, but also through all of the activities that we organize. And so the website at the moment is still our primary platform, but of course we know that there are so many additional social media platforms out there, such as let's say Instagram, YouTube. I'm incredibly grateful to be here, and I think it's an incredible example, and I will share it with the board, of what else we can do or should do, perhaps, in order to reach our members. So personally, and I think that with the board ourselves, we keep constantly looking back at our website and thinking, okay, well, what else can we do, or how can we, expand the experience of a website to become more interactive for our members? Because in addition to the website, we also have a listserv, and the listserv has served us really well since 2001. It's something that we continuously think about, do we want to get rid of the listserv? Because of course you sign up for a listserv. I'm quite sure many of you have signed up to listserv, and you get this occasional email in your inbox, and you think, okay, well, will I read it or will I ignore it? And we have sometimes where there are really interesting discussions happening on listserv, but there are also times when it's just quiet for 6, 7, 8 months, so nothing really happening there. But what I really like about the listserv is that it serves as well as an incredibly source of history. So since 2001, people have been interacting with this listserv quite nicely. So that means that we have, these kind of like threads of discussions going on. And one of the things that we keep, thinking about as well is that, we need to mine the data. We need to see what kind of discussions there were and how certain discussions might have changed, or if we are constantly going back into circles. So we're not going to get rid of the listserv, and in some ways, I suppose what we want to do is maybe expand it and try to get more or stronger discussions going on in the listserv. And that's why we also expanded the EATAW with the newsletter, which we try to get out at least every 2 months. We try to send out a newsletter to our members and our community. So this is maybe one other thing that we still need to work out. So who are our members and who is our community? So this is, the newsletter is hopefully just a little bit more interactive, where we present our members with a quick update of things that we do. Of course, that we have a board, and currently our board consists of 9 members. We have a chair, we have a deputy chair, secretary, and then we have a conference coordinator, web secretary, membership secretary, and a treasurer. And then we have 2 ex officio members who are involved with the journal that we have at EATAW. And the board is elected at the biennial conference, which is where we have the General Assembly, so where we ask registered EATAW members to come together, listen to what we have done over the past 2 years, and then elect a new board for people who are standing for the board. Now, this is, again, another challenge that we have, moving forward, but I'll come back to this in a second. Then we also have a constitution. I think our constitution has served us really well, and I think protects us and guides us in the way that we move forward as a board. Specifically when it comes to communicating with our members, so where we want to go, what kind of topics are essential, but as well as how do we function as an organization. So that said, again, the constitution is something that changes over time. So I think at the moment we are on our 3rd constitution. So if we want to make changes to the constitution, again, we would need to go back to our members during the General Assembly and ask them if they would approve to these changes. So that's in some ways, trying to get our members involved in the organization itself, and to protect the organization from itself in some ways. Then we also have a code of ethics, which we published, I think maybe now, so 2019. So that's 4 or 5 years ago. To support issues related to diversity, but also just, again, to help ourselves as an organization. So there were a couple of incidences at the conferences where people were felt maybe a little bit disadvantaged, and then we felt, okay, well, we need to make sure that everybody who's going to attend the conference or is a member of EATAW at least is clear as to how we would like for them to be a part of the community. So the code of ethics is something that has become an important facet of who we are as an organization and how we would like to interact with our members. And then most recently, we have started to publish policy statements And I add policy statements is because that we have a few topics that I think we need to maybe place a policy statement about. For example, when it comes to multilingualism, so we don't have a current statement about this, but we are thinking that maybe it's something that is necessary. But of course, the policy statement that we have published at the moment is the one which is related to how we as an organization stand on the use of generative artificial intelligence, hoping that that guideline can serve anyone who is a member or our community to think about how generative artificial intelligence is positioned within academic writing community. And we're actually quite proud of this. So we had a lot of feedback. We got quite a lot of people to comment on it and to support us to write it. And we know that some departments, some institutions, use it to go back to their let's say stakeholders and decision makers to say, okay, well, this are perhaps a couple of important points that we need to work from. And then more recently, we've also started to connect ourselves with affiliated organizations. So we have an affiliate agreement with the Association for Writing Across the Curriculum, AWAC, in the US. So more recently as well, the International Society for the Advancement of Writing Research, so the EATAW organization, and the European Literacy Network, so the ELN network. So ELN network expands writing as well to preschool writing and middle and high school writing. So academic writing tends to be higher education. So we're again wanting to cross those boundaries with other organizations. And we hope specifically in relationship to our 2025 conference that we can also expand our affiliate agreements with ALES. So the Asociación Latinoamericana de Estudios de la Escritura, and yes, I'm sorry, that's quite a mouthful. But yes, we again think that there are a lot of things that we can learn from each other and support each other. So this is one of the things that I think we want to give ourselves more meaning and relevance, and that the impact of writing in our writing community is not just again within the European context, but that there's actually so much more that we can work from, from other continents and places. And not just the United States. So I think maybe that's a little bit of a pushback against, okay, well, we don't need, everything that is coming out from the North American context. Although, of course, there's a lot of things coming out there which are really, really valuable. But specifically, again, in the European context, which is so complex, I think that there are other communities which will help us and which will provide, those additional voices and dialogues. And so that's one of the things that we really are aiming for in the coming years. And then we also have the Journal of Academic Writing, which has been serving us really well as an outlet for people who are attending the conference. So we have a conference edition every 2 years. But then, of course, we have people submitting articles throughout the year as well, and we hope that by 2025 we will also be indexed in I think it was what we're hoping for EBSCO database, so that more people will be able to find us. So that's where we are today, and the journal is growing stronger. So we're very happy with this. So EATAW tomorrow. I'm just looking, how am I for time?
If you can close in a few minutes.
Yes, I can. Okay, I'm almost done. So when it comes to EATAW tomorrow, I think one of the major priorities that we have at the moment, that we meet as a board every month. And we have a list of things, that we need to cross out, which we almost never get to, but at least little by little we manage. So one of our priorities is really to get more members involved. So we are, desperately getting people to, to see us, so to have contact with them, because we can't just live off the every 2-year conference, where we see each other. It's a great time, and there's always, this incredible energy, but we want to maintain that energy. So we're looking for activities to increase the presence, not just every 2 years, but, on a maybe, bi-monthly or monthly, or, once every 2-3 months, for example. So some of the activities that we've been thinking about are podcasts, video casts, like this here, but also online discussions through various, through Zoom, for example, and as well through publications. So not just publications in the journal, but maybe also more popular publications through a blog, for example. And the other thing is that I think our board has functioned quite well, but I think that we need to update a couple of structures within our board in order to accommodate again the kind of new ideas that we have for the organization to move forward. Which is also, at least trying to find a conference location 2 years in advance, because at the moment, it's always a question whether we know already, where we are going to have a conference in 2 years' time, and often we don't know. And this is something that we need to change, because our members would like to know where they're going, in 2 years. So those are, I think, our main challenges. So we want to get more EATAW members to come. We also need to make a distinction, because our members are free, membership is free, and we have people registered in the listserv, and we also have a database, but our database of EATAW members maybe consists of about 300, 400 members at the moment. But they have to register themselves again after 2 years for every conference. And we don't have a really good overview of this. So this is something that we need to get a much better overview. So we want to know who our members are. We will be able to contact them and engage them. Find ways in which we can update this. And I think that when we talk about the board, so I mentioned that we have various. So we have a chair, vice chair. So we have a conference secretary. We have a treasurer. But I think that what we need to do is we need to expand the board a little bit so that the rotation is much more clear, and also that we will be able to invite members to really stand for the board more readily, and have thematic positions. So, for example, we really want to focus on podcast and videocast. Maybe there are some members who really would like to work as a group on this topic, for example. And at the moment, our constitution and the way that the board is set up doesn't allow this. So we need to make some changes to the constitution to become a much more flexible, let's say, organization to help make those themes possible. So I think that's the main challenges that we have.
Thank you, Djuddah. So can we have everybody? Yes, everybody together now. So I'll do a very brief wrap up in Portuguese and then in English, I think. I don't think I can do it in Spanish and French. Not fast enough, at least, yeah? Então, essa iniciativa da ROCA foi justamente para convidar diferentes associações de diferentes locais, diferentes continentes, de se apresentarem e colocarem tanto suas conquistas quanto seus desafios. Em termos de conquistas, e aí nós tivemos uma associação já mais experiente, a EATAW, 23 years, right? 23 anos de associação. A Alice, desde 2016, então 8 anos. E, Youssef, você disse que a associação acabou de nascer. Quanto tempo? How long? Sorry. Oh, you don't have the microphone on.
6 months.
6 meses. 6 meses. Então, essa diferença também, né? Essa diferença, obviamente, se reflete no que foi colocado enquanto conquistas e desafios. Algo em comum com as associações, uma conferência ou um evento, eu acho que a outra coisa em comum é esse desejo de crescer e de atender necessidades dos associados, né? E que esses associados tenham participação ativa na associação. E aí, eu vou fazer uma pergunta antes de passar para as perguntas do chat. So, moving on to English now, because I know Mônica and Youssef can understand English. And English is more commonly spoken as a foreign language in Brazil than French. Unfortunately, probably more often than Spanish as well, Mônica. Sorry to say that. But anyway, so things that you have mentioned in common are objectives, for example, trying to have more and more members and members who can participate actively. And I think that gives us a challenge, which is how to make them participate more actively, besides participating in your biannual event, for example, or conference. And something that we all have in common is a conference and the wish to collaborate. And I'm very glad that we're together so that we can think of ways of collaborating, because you mentioned multilingualism, and we have a multilingual presentation today. We've had one, right? So trying to survive with 4 languages, Portuguese, English, Spanish, and French. And I think I'm just going to put forward a question about this, how to strengthen this multilingualism, especially, I think, these 3 other languages rather than English, Djuddah, Spanish, Portuguese, and French as languages of science and as languages of, writing research. And I'm very glad you mentioned the conference in Portugal next year and the conference in Colombia next year, because as Mônica mentioned as well, we're trying to expand, in Latin America. And we have these 2 major languages, Portuguese and Spanish. Of course, we have other languages, indigenous languages, but these are the 2 official languages in most countries, right, Mônica? So I think maybe you could all share a word on how your different associations could act on strengthening these minority languages. Minority, I mean, if compared to English, right? And at the same time, maybe you could mention, because you all talked about collaboration, and maybe this is a step on establishing some collaboration on these different continents that we have put together this morning. Europe, Africa, and Latin America, South America, at least. So maybe you could mention something about that. And then we already have 3 questions from YouTube. So maybe we could do it on the order, Mônica, and then Youssef, and then Djuddah.
Okay. ¿Cómo podemos colaborar en las lenguas? ¿En qué lenguas?
Sí.
Sin duda en lenguas minoritarias tenemos desafíos muy grandes, porque en la mayoría son lenguas no escritas, y entonces es complejo, y por lo menos en Chile, a diferencia de Bolivia o México o Paraguay o Perú, no tienen estatus oficial, digamos. Así que, pero es un desafío que tenemos que abordar. Y sobre las conexiones con otras asociaciones, pienso que esta oportunidad es muy importante, y pienso que una cuestión es tener redes y nuevas oportunidades, pero también algo un poco más complejo, lo conversamos en la última asamblea de socios de ALES, y es leernos en otras lenguas, especialmente portugués y español, porque hay mucha lectura desde el inglés como referencia, pero nosotros tenemos que trabajar también como un cuerpo unido de investigación entre Brasil, Latinoamérica y otros referentes. Eso por ahora, Vera.
Gracias. In our journal, the Latin American Journal, Djuddah and Youssef, we accept articles in Portuguese, Spanish, English, and French, right?
Sí, yes.
Okay, Youssef?
Est-ce que tu peux traduire parce que pour ne pas...
D'accord, non, il n'y a pas de problème.
Pour bien comprendre la question déjà.
Oh, d'accord. Mônica a parlé des minority languages. Oui, mais vous pouvez parler de minority languages, mais aussi de la participation des langages comme français, portugais et espagnol dans le monde de la science. Oui, parce que l'anglais est la langue privilégiée, la langue de la science, la langue reconnue comme la langue de la science. Mais français, portugais, espagnol et beaucoup d'autres langues, bien sûr, sont langues qui produisent science aussi. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a quelques actions que les différentes associations peuvent faire pour strengthen, comment c'est ce mot? Strengthen? Je ne connais pas.
C'est engagé.
Link.
OK. Et d'autres questions, c'est sur la collaboration. Comment les différentes associations peuvent faire quelques types de collaboration? Parce que je sais que vous êtes très intéressés aussi dans cette oui.
En fait, quand on a une association, on est obligé de collaborer.
Oui, oui.
Tout simplement, pourquoi? Pour le partage d'expériences des autres. Par exemple, vous êtes en Amérique latine, il y a des personnes qui sont en Europe, d'autres en Afrique, qui n'ont pas les mêmes pratiques, qui n'ont pas la même culture de l'écrit ou de l'oral, qui n'ont pas la même formation. Et du coup, collaborer, c'est dans le sens de faire une comparaison pour savoir ce qui marche dans ces contextes et ce qui ne marche pas dans les autres contextes. On peut profiter de l'expérience des autres. Par exemple, M. Djuddah, c'est 23 ans d'expérience d'association. Normalement, ils ont pas mal de données ou d'éléments qui peuvent nous aider. Par exemple, l'association, l'ARL, il est jeune, donc il commence à s'intégrer dans la communauté scientifique. Et du coup, je pense que même chose pour Mônica, etc. et Vera. Donc, vous avez déjà de l'expérience qu'on peut partager ensemble, surtout que, par exemple, je pense que le Brésil ou le Chili ou l'Argentine, etc., ils ont la même situation que l'Afrique. Plusieurs langues et plusieurs dialectes. Et du coup, par exemple, le cas du Maroc, on a pas mal de langues. La preuve, c'est que, par exemple, au niveau du centre du Maroc, c'est le français qui domine, et l'anglais. Au nord et au sud, c'est l'espagnol. Donc, comment on peut penser à des pratiques d'écriture, à des activités, à des manuels scolaires, par exemple, pour pouvoir faire apprendre ces langues. Donc, du coup, la question de la collaboration nécessite déjà un partage de connaissances et de pratiques. Deuxième des choses, c'est de travailler sur les mêmes objets de recherche pour qu'on puisse penser à des méthodologies pour approcher le terrain, bien sûr, avec ses différences, etc., pour pouvoir penser à des pratiques communes, transversales et au niveau international. Donc, d'ailleurs, c'est pour ça que le projet dont j'ai parlé tout à l'heure de la médecine, en fait, il y aura une collaboration entre le Maroc, entre l'Estonie, la France, la Belgique et un pays d'Afrique qu'on est en train de chercher. Donc, tout ça pour pouvoir savoir ce qui se passe dans ces contextes sur le plan de la formation universitaire professionnalisante et professionnelle. Donc, la question de la collaboration est très importante pour pouvoir partager les savoirs et bénéficier des expériences des autres et des orientations des autres. Après, la question de la minorité des langues, je pense que la question de la publication, c'est elle qui détermine le pouvoir de la langue. Par exemple, on sait très bien que l'anglais, il domine la scène internationale par rapport aux publications et par rapport aux recherches, etc. D'ailleurs, même elles sont mieux valorisées. Les revues anglaises sont mieux valorisées que les revues françaises. Donc, notre objectif comme association est de déjà collaborer, faire des recherches, faire des projets, et après les publier et les valoriser à travers des publications en français, en anglais. D'ailleurs, j'ai lancé une revue il y a quelques mois qui s'appelle Revue internationale de didactique et de littératie, dont les langues sont le français, l'anglais, l'espagnol et le portugais. Donc, pour pouvoir publier les recherches de l'association. Donc, voilà. Ça, c'est pour pouvoir, tenter de traiter cette histoire de minorité de langue par rapport à l'anglais. Donc, voilà.
Merci. Então, eu vou rapidamente resumir o que o Youssef compartilhou. Ele começou falando da pergunta relacionada à colaboração e mencionou que toda a associação quer colaborar, né? E que colaboração é uma missão já da associação. Então, compartilhar experiências, práticas, conhecimentos de quem tem certamente diferentes formações e práticas em diferentes situações. E ele deu o exemplo da própria associação, que o Djuddah é presidente agora, que já é uma associação de 20 e poucos anos. Então, a importância, a relevância dessa associação compartilhar experiências, conhecimento e práticas com outras associações. Então, que todos nós podemos aprender com essas diferentes experiências. Por exemplo, a ROCA é uma associação nova e, portanto, essas partilhas são muito relevantes para essa associação. Ele também deu o exemplo da África ter o domínio da língua francesa. Fui eu? Minha internet, será? Não? Ele também disse da importância de uma associação ter, por exemplo, projetos com os mesmos objetos de pesquisa para justamente poder pesquisar e aprender diferentes metodologias, as práticas comuns e transversais, e por isso ele deu o exemplo do projeto sobre a medicina, né, que foi uma um projeto entendendo justamente essa formação em diferentes países, tanto da Europa quanto da África. Ele disse que a associação tem a intenção de fazer essas pesquisas e publicar os resultados em diferentes línguas, francês, inglês, português e espanhol. E também compartilhou do que disse a Mônica, dos desafios com relação às línguas minoritárias. Djuddah, would you like me to say a few words of what Youssef said in English? Or do you speak French? Sorry, we can't hear you.
Maybe just a few bullet points, or the most important ones. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think he mentioned that collaborating is already a mission of any association. Whenever we are in an association, it's because we want to collaborate, right? So, but anyway, collaborating is very relevant because we can get to know different experiences, practices, and knowledge. And for example, he mentioned the example of your association, which is over 20 years old, sharing all these practices and experiences and knowledge, so relevant to new associations like his. Yeah. He gave the idea of having the importance of having an international project together so we can learn with one another. Yeah, we can learn different methodologies, different practices. And he gave the example of the project on medicine, yeah? He said his association wants to do research and publish in different languages like French, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And yes, there is a challenge with minority languages. There are many of them in Africa, minority languages, yes, indigenous, dialects, and that's a challenge. I think that's about it.
Yeah. I think it resonates as well to the European context, despite the fact that sometimes I think we sometimes forget, because there's just so much coming out from Europe, right? So incredible organizations. There's, of course, this. How do I phrase this? So, I mean, historically, Europe has been, dominating. I'm not saying that in a very positive way here either, in terms of, scientific output as well, together with the US. And so I live in Estonia, which is, really in the outskirts of the European Union, together with Latvia and Lithuania, and, even Finland and the countries in Eastern Europe. And of course, we struggle for that kind of recognition as well, in terms of establishing ourselves, and this follows down to many other European countries. And I think that's also a little bit the challenge that we have as any organization in the European context. To really put your foot down and say, okay, well, listen, we have all of those countries there as well, with all of their languages and all of their indigenous languages as well, or languages that are really, struggling to survive as an academic language, which is, what we have here in Estonia as well. So when it comes to that point of multilingualism, I think as an organization, it's important that we at least recognize and represent everyone. And that representation, of course, can come as a result of collaboration. But the problem, I think, a little bit is that who do you collaborate with? So again, for example, within the Estonian or Latvian or Lithuanian context, so when it comes to collaboration, there's me and maybe 3 or 4 of my colleagues who you can collaborate with, because we somewhat, push ourselves outwards, and we have a foot into different organizations. that said, within Estonia, there are so many more colleagues that I would love to include, and some of them are coming from various disciplines in educational research and in AI research or technology research, or even from psychology research, who are also doing research on literacy, reading, text generation or methodology to analyze texts and databases, you name it. So, I would love to, within the Estonian context, form for example, a local EATAW communication community, and have that replicated in Latvia, in Lithuania, and you name it, so that there are like smaller organizations who can attract, people from their local communities to build not only just research on writing, but cross-disciplinary voices, and those voices, of course, are cross-disciplinary, but also I think cross-linguistic. So the discussions which can take place here in Estonia can be in Estonian, as well as the publications which are coming out from Estonian are in Estonian, or from our neighbors Latvian or Lithuanian, which we have done in previous projects. And I think it's a little bit this kind of like bottom-up approach, where we try to empower, those communities and find those people within those communities and say, okay, well, as a larger organization like EATAW, we will help you, we will support you in building up some momentum and work with you and have those dialogues with you, not just every 2 years, but on a more regular basis. But that, of course, requires a larger board, again, people who are a little bit more involved in starting those discussions. And this is something that with, for example, the 2025 conference that we have coming. So with the affiliates, we have made agreements that all the affiliated associations will have a space and a place and a time allocated for them at the conference to do something together. And so for the 2025, we're currently, having discussions with our affiliates to organize a pre-conference seminar or pre-conference workshop, where we will, for example, organize a World Cafe format to have, discussions about multilingualism and, of course, the role of artificial intelligence, for example, and then invite a panel to speak on behalf. And then for that panel or for that World Cafe format, then to move to the next conference. And that next conference could be in Colombia. I know there's a conference, which I think is soon after the EATAW conference, or to the RAP conference in Australia. So, because we know that quite a lot of our members are, go to our different conferences, so we can build a little bit more momentum from one conference to the next, to keep those discussions going and not just have them, every 2 years. I think that's the the largest challenge of this kind of organization, to represent all voices from the bottom up. And then from the top down. So that's the way that I would see it. Because of course the languages will follow, I think, if you implement the right kind of infrastructure. Because languages should not be, the main problem. I think, with language, technology can solve languages. And I'm not going to be very optimistic in terms of artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence might solve certain problems. It might, of course, create certain problems as well. But that's, I think, not the main point. I think the main point is infrastructure and how we will develop and support infrastructure to accommodate all those voices.
Thank you, Djuddah. So I'm just going to translate the main points into Portuguese, but I'd like to mention, Mônica, Djuddah mentioned panels, right? And I think we've had, for example, an Alice panel at the last RAB. She mentioned that in her presentation, but yeah. So I think that
we are going to working for this idea.
And next year we're having a panel.
Yeah, it's
Colombia, right?
In Colombia.
Yeah. So
we're organizing to get a panel at EATAW from Alice, at least to combine, the strengths.
This idea, yeah. So this, I think, makes it official, yeah, to have a room for collaboration in each other's conferences, in a way, right? Mas só para fazer um brevíssimo resumo do Djuddah, ele reconheceu, né, esse domínio europeu em relação a, talvez, outras partes do mundo, como a África e a América do Sul, mas ele também reconhece a importância do empoderamento das minorias. E aí ele deu uma sugestão, ou pensando que talvez uma ideia fosse ter como se fossem mini associações nos locais para possibilitar esse empoderamento de professores de diferentes disciplinas em parceria para essas vozes disciplinares poderem ter reconhecimento e serem ouvidas. E disse que na conferência, no congresso do ano que vem em Portugal, no início de julho, eles vão oferecer esse seminário antes da conferência, justamente para discutir multilingualismo, e aí no congresso se ter o painel de compartilhar essa discussão. Well, we have only a few minutes so that we can finish. So I'm going to ask one of the questions that William Seco, who is from UEL, from our local university, yes, he would like to ask how you see the possibility of telecollaboration practices, yeah, in programs, courses, or writing projects by academic, students, university students. Whether this telecollaboration, somebody mentioned teletandem. Was it you, Youssef? No. Somebody mentioned teletandem or telecollaboration. Would there be a room for that?
I can. So I think at EATAW we have been thinking about extending, various formats to both instructors, but as well to students. To have this more open dialogue. Personally, optimistically, I would always say yes. I think if there's a will to extend collaboration, to even, for example, have collaboration between centers who are supporting writing tutors or writing consultants, as we would also call them, to open up that course, for example, to international organizations as well, or institutions who would need that kind of training and who can't afford it themselves. So, for example, within our university, we have Communicating Science, which is a course for writing scientific publications for PhD students. It's all online. Everybody can use it and plug it in and collaborate with it if they would want. So I think the internet provides, an incredible platform where, we can just open up and share materials and collaborate it in any form necessary, even, across the time zones. But again, it's just this kind of, I think, the will has to be there, and and if it's there, absolutely we can. So I'm always very optimistic. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yo creo que las actuales condiciones post-pandemia nos dejaron mejor habilitados para otras opciones como podcast y otras maneras de comunicarnos que obviamente como académicos necesitamos articularnos con los profesores. Ahí también tenemos un desafío porque tendemos a asociarnos entre académicos y las relaciones con los profesores del sistema escolar, por ejemplo, en nuestro caso son un poco más débiles y realmente sí, es un desafío pero hay opciones, ese es mi punto, hay buenos canales en los que hay bastante práctica o hay más disposición hoy día, así es que lo tomo como un desafío.
Youssef?
Oui, je pense que la question du télétandem est très intéressante, surtout avec l'avènement du numérique. Donc, ça rapproche les gens et ça rapproche l'apprentissage. Du coup, en fait, la question du tandem nécessite un cadre, bien sûr, pour pouvoir élaborer un tandem et proposer des pratiques. Par exemple, on peut le penser dans le cadre d'une collaboration entre les 4 membres ici d'association, mettre un cadre d'un tandem et chacun partage ses pratiques, etc. Comme ça, tous les gens peuvent à ce moment-là consulter et interagir avec ces gens dans le cadre d'un télétandem. Donc, je pense que c'est une bonne idée. Et du coup, moi, je suis partant, je suis motivé pour ça. Donc, je suis là pour ça d'ailleurs. Donc, que ce soit avec toi, avec Mônica, avec Djuddah ou avec n'importe qui. Donc, voilà.
Merci. Então, William, os 3 acham que é uma boa ideia, que é possível, e talvez você possa ajudar as associações, já que está à frente de um projeto de teletandem. So I suggested he could help. Yeah. So I'm afraid we have to end our session today. So I'm going to give you maybe 30 seconds each to say final words, and then, yeah. Mônica?
Ladies first.
Gracias. Nada, que como ALES, como Asociación Latinoamericana, nos interesa seguir creciendo. Están invitados al Congreso de Barranquilla, Colombia, que próximamente les vamos a enviar la convocatoria y los invitamos a postular artículos a la revista latinoamericana de estudios del discurso. También es una necesidad para nosotros porque queremos alcanzar la indexación y necesitamos muy buenas contribuciones y ahí estamos abiertos a diferentes lenguas. Así es que esa es la invitación.
Youssef?
Pour finir, je remercie tout le monde de m'avoir donné l'occasion de participer à cette conversation et à cette manifestation scientifique. J'aimerais dire que l'ARL est motivée, elle est présente pour participer à n'importe quel projet dans le cadre de collaboration, etc. Et si on est là, c'est parce qu'on est motivé, on veut apprendre, on veut enseigner, on veut faire de la recherche et partager notre expérience avec tout le monde. Donc, on se situe dans une logique de partage. Et voilà, et je vous remercie.
Merci.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would like to extend my sincere thank you to you, Vera, for the invitation. I think it's been a wonderful discussion, and I think also when we started to organize it, it went really, really well. So I'm incredibly impressed at how easy it actually can be. And of course, yeah, meeting both you, Mônica, and Youssef, both of you as well. Maybe just one thing which maybe I haven't really heard of, because related to this, I mean, quite often we think that the pandemic might have also helped us to overcome certain barriers, like going to conferences and having this kind of hybrid model. I think this will remain a challenge, and I don't think that we should see a conference as something that is just going to be a hybrid model. But hopefully, of course, that we can invite as many people to come to the conference, and in addition to that, organize different events which make it easier logistically to attend those. Because I think that for all of us, even within the European context, trying to get funding to attend conferences is a challenge. So these type of events, I think, are worth so much more in some ways than just a conference. So we have to look at it beyond this. So again, I'm really impressed by the organization and the events and well, already the talks that you've had. So it's only something that we can dream of at the moment as an organization, but we will definitely take example of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup, Youssef. I think we've managed to meet and put us in contact. I think we all have this eager to collaborate, to learn from one another, and to grow as an association so we can strengthen bonds and hopefully make research together, right? Eu estou agradecendo, extremamente agradecida, nós do Lila, de todas as associações, muito obrigada por esse momento de partilha, de conhecimento, de aprendizagem, muito obrigada e até a próxima ROCA, que será no dia 27 de novembro, quando teremos como convidados a professora Bárbara Mello, do Laboratório de Leitura e Escrita Acadêmica, LEIA, da Universidade Estadual do Piauí, UESP, e Robson Figueiredo Brito, do Laboratório de Extensão, Práticas, Pesquisas, Publicações Acadêmicas e Internacionalização, LEPAI, da Universidade Pontifícia Católica de Minas Gerais, PUC Minas. Nossos agradecimentos a toda a equipe do Lila, em especial a coordenadora da Sexta ROCA, Márcia Kremer, e a Bruna Braz, que está aqui nos bastidores conosco e nos assessorando. Muito obrigada e até a próxima ROCA.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
Gracias. Bye bye. You can stay a little bit, just 1 minute.